What's up, Game Devs? T-Chan here, and welcome to episode 30 of Game Dev Loadout, where I chat with today's most experienced game developers 7 days a week. We will learn about their backgrounds, the obstacles they have to overcome, and the tools they use to reach success. And today's featured guest is Brandon Smith. Brandon, it is go time. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So he is the CEO and lead programmer for DarkShot Studios, and they recently released a 2D platformer called ROTii. So go ahead, Brandon, give us a bit about your personal life and how you got started in the game industry.
Okay. Well, I've been running my own indie studio for about 2 years now, but I've been a hobbyist for closer to 10 years. I started using RPG Maker back in high school and kind of self-taught myself, worked on some terrible projects with, ripped sprites from other games. But I recently decided to try and go into the professional foray and try to make a commercial product. And the end result was ROTii. I'm a programmer. I do a little bit of the marketing as well, a lot of the business stuff as well. And I actually work in oil and gas during the day. So I'm a part-time developer. Which presents all kinds of other fun stuff. I think that's kind of a good broad spectrum of who I am.
As a CEO of your own game studio, what do you consider your main area of expertise? Because it sounds like you're the programmer, but then you also do the marketing. So what do you consider your main area of expertise?
I would consider my main area of expertise to be programming. As a indie, you oftentimes have to wear multiple hats, especially when you try to run the show. So, I do a lot of different things, but I definitely say programming is my main thing. It's the thing I enjoy doing the most, and it's the thing I feel most confident in, much so over like business or the marketing side.
Oh, wow. So since you do both marketing and programming, what do you think we should know about doing both of those at the same time that we don't know about?
The thing I would say in terms of doing them all at the same time is actually to try and avoid doing them at the same time.
That's a good one, yeah.
Especially if you're just getting started with it. So, the point of the end goal, if we're talking about it from a business perspective, the point of marketing is to direct potential buyers to your product and to maintain a relationship with current buyers so they keep buying stuff. That's a little tricky to do if you don't actually have a product. And, it's a lot more than just doing social media posts about like, hey, here's art from the game. Here's, a video of the game. I mean, that stuff helps and you have to do that kind of stuff as well. But, and I'm just going to kind of do it from a business kind of mindset because that's where I'm coming from. But you definitely need kind of a vision whenever you're talking about a product. You need a direction. You need to know who you're going to sell it to.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of do it it's going to be trial and error. There's no way around that. But if you're also kind of developing the product at the same time, unless you're just doing social media just for the sake of it, don't expect anything out of it. And don't put too much thought into it. Put most of your thought into your product. The business and the marketing side, they'll come down the road. They should definitely come down the road because everything centers around your product, your company message, your demographic. So that's obviously most important. Then that's the thing you got into it in the first place to do. I would assume you got into it to make games. So keep games as the most important thing.
Definitely. And if people had to teach themselves to be a better CEO for like a small independent company, what resources would you recommend they use?
If we're talking about being a better CEO, a better business runner, the best resource I could say is other people. There's a lot of different meetups, and we're based in Houston, so it may not be the case depending on the city you live in. But startups, entrepreneurs, that's kind of an all the rage thing these days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have like certain reality shows based off, like I think Shark Tank will count. Startups trying to like make their way. That's a very in thing. So you have a lot of different meetups and groups probably in your city where small business owners gather and they share resources, talk about ideas, and hopefully, more than likely the case, you're going to have professional, like more established business runners giving talks at these events or similar events. I think that's a really good thing to utilize if you're trying to run a business, and especially if it's your first business.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's like, for example, in Houston, are a lot of networking events that happen at like 3 times a week or something. And it's so important to go out there and meet new people, to learn from the new people. And like you say, you might meet someone that has a lot of experience in the business, possibly show you something or teach you something or give you good advice, especially for video games as well. So yeah, that's definitely a great thing to do right there. What are your key principles for better game development?
One key principle I would say is keep your focus and keep your attention on the vision of your game. You know, once you come up with an idea for a game, and once you've established what that vision is going to be, you know, what kind of feelings you want to evoke from the game, kind of experience you want the player to have, base all of your decisions around that vision. And that includes things like going out and getting feedback from other players, because that's the thing you'll have to deal with eventually, whether it's sooner or later. And, you know, they're going to come back at you with the different kind of ideas they'll have for the game. Like, oh, you should add multiplayer. You should add guns. You should add this. You should add that. With that kind of advice, what you really need to do, especially if it's like internet comments as well, you need to take that advice and kind of compare it to the vision you have for the game. And it's a tricky thing to do at first, but you have to start somewhere with it. But compare the feedback to the vision you have and say, is this thing that they're saying I should implement, you know, does this match with the vision of the game? Does this give them the experience I want them to have? And if it doesn't, you may need to take that advice they give you and kind of say, okay, why are they giving me this advice? You know, maybe they're saying they want one thing, but they actually, the solution is something else. Like, for example, with ROTii, we were told some time ago that we should put a run button in the game back when we were early in development. And we did that, but in the end, we ended up taking it out because, long and short of it, a run button was just kind of adding unnecessary buttons to a game. We wanted to keep the game very simple, minimal controls. So what we ended up doing is just speeding up the walk speed of ROTii, so there was no need for a run button. And I know that's kind of a very general thing, but it's just kind of an example of how people may say one thing, but you always have to trust your heart, as cliche as that sounds.
Yeah, and not only that, adding a simple run button could change the whole mechanic of the game as well. So, because, you know, some games are meant to be played at a steady pace or a slower pace.
Absolutely. One more, I think, very important vision, since we're talking about, you know, how mechanics can affect the game. Planning, I think, is a very key pillar of good game design. Game design docs, in whatever form they take, you know, there's a lot of different templates on the internet. A lot of people will tell you what kind of things you should include. I don't think it matters what kind of format you use. And I guess for those of you who don't know, a game design doc is a write-up of all the aspects of your game from the various different aspects of the people that will be working on it. So you'll have a breakdown of the mechanics and breakdown of everything in the game. Like, here's a design document about Super Mario Brothers. It's a platformer. You blah, blah, blah. You run left to right, and you jump on enemies. And then you have a section where you break down the programming aspects of the game to say, okay, when this happens, this, you know, kind of break it down in a way coders can understand. And then you have the art breakdown, the music breakdown, all those things. It doesn't really matter what form you use. And I know some people make it stuck on like where I even began. I think even if you make up your own format, just going through the motions of writing down everything and reading it and adding to it, you'll eventually get to a format that works for you and your team, because in the end, it needs to be something that everyone will read. So you may end up making your own format, but just the process of writing it will help you get more focused in on the game, which is definitely important, especially if you're trying to take on something that's, you know, like more than one mechanic, which I know a lot of people try to do with their first games. That's what we did, for better, for worse.
And now, like you said, that's a good point. Now, creating a game could be very long and difficult, and I'm pretty sure, you know, you had some bad moments. Give us a personal experience of your most difficult moment, and it could be like an obstacle or an emotion you have to overcome. Be detailed and give us that story.
The most difficult aspect of it is working on a team, because this is just something that we did on the side. So no one made any money off of it. So there's not really a lot of incentive, for people to be accountable for what they sign up to do. There's nothing really to stop people from not delivering or dipping out. And we had that quite a bit. A really good example of that is back in the beginning of ROTii's development. And it had about a 2-year lifetime, dev lifetime. About 4-5 months into the development, one of the key artists of the game actually dipped out. And it caused a big shift in the game. Back then, it was actually a pixelated game that was more of a Metroidvania style pacing. And we only had one pixel artist, and they dipped out. So that caused us to kind of change the whole art style, and the gameplay changed along with that. And we really had to kind of make some quick decisions because we were planning to show the game off at a summer convention that year. So that was a big challenge, and that's it's one example of something that happened a lot throughout the development. A lot of people coming in and out, and to circumvent that kind of thing for people that want to kind of avoid that mistake. I would say whenever you're approaching any early games, first, second, third, any game that's early on before you really know who's in it for the long run, design your games based on the scope of if you were working by yourself.
That's interesting. Yeah.
You can add new people onto it. Yeah, sure. I mean, who's gonna say no to making a game? So whenever you ask someone, you're usually gonna say yes. But if you design the scope to a way where it's something you could accomplish by yourself, you're okay if and when things don't go the way they should with team members. And if everyone stays, then all the better. Everyone combining their talents to make something that's even better. But at the very least, worst case scenario, you made the game you planned to make.
Yeah, and I can't imagine you overseeing the game and then people just being back and forth. And I'm pretty sure that caused a lot of frustrations because you just want to complete the game. You want to put this out there, and no one is like committed, or people aren't committed to the game. And like you say, there's no incentives. So I guess that's why they were not committed. So what do you want to make sure game devs took away from that experience?
I think the best thing to take away from that experience would be think small. A lot of the ideas you probably have as a new developer are probably too big. Your game idea you have is probably too big. The team you have in mind is probably too big.
You're absolutely right, because I know, I go to some meetups and I meet some new developers, and the ideas they tell me as their first game, I'm like, what? Are you really going to make that as your first game? That seems a bit too big. I don't know why some early developers try to go too big too fast, and I think that's like a really big mistake. Really, really big mistake.
I think it's because, most people that want to work on games grew up with games in some capacity, so it means a lot to us. So it's a very exciting thing. And if the prospect of making a game, ever becomes close to reality, then someone's going to kind of jump to like the bigger ideas because it's something they've probably dreamed of for a long time. Everyone gets warned about it too. Like it's no secret. There's no big secret that you shouldn't think small in the beginning, but nobody does it. We're all too excited when we start. So, and this is going to sound worse than it actually is, but something that needs to happen very early on, and probably for any business owner of any industry, not just games. But a big thing that should happen from the get-go is having a good dream-crushing experience, as bad as that sounds. Unless you're someone that's really good at listening to other people and really keen on avoiding potholes, which I was not, still not technically, but you're gonna want to just. And that's why, despite all the advice we're going to talk about here, and the advice, that you guys listening will probably get from other places, out of all those things, the best piece of advice is just to try it. Take the things we're saying in mind, try to plan, but at the end of the day, just start doing it. And because things are going to go wrong, you might as well just start trying and start having things go wrong now. Just get that part out of the way, because it's it's just part of how it works.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing this, Brandon. We're trying to prevent game devs from making that mistake of thinking too big. And I think that if you think too big and you get started on that project, and then you start to slowly figure out, oh man, I can't do this no more. It's too much. And people are going to lose that motivation real quick. And, I don't want that to happen to the other game devs. So think small, try, and of course, get started on it. But be careful about thinking about a big idea because it might be bigger than you expected and you will lose that motivation quickly. Brandon, what is the best investment you've made? It could be investment of money, time, or energy. And how did you decide to make that investment?
Time spent at work days have been the best investment. Because there have been a few people. I mean, I know it kind of went on a bit about people dipping out, but there were also people that stayed through the project. You need to kind of have a good sense of who your good people are going to be, who you can count on, and you need to invest time in those people. Have work days in person if possible. You might end up having people that work remotely, so have Google Hangout calls, screen share. Invest the time to build the relationship, work together, because you guys, you're all new. Or most of you probably be new. So you'll need each other's different backgrounds to kind of balance each other out if you want any chance at having a really good, smooth first game. You need to balance each other out. You'll need to be able to share ideas and quickly get advice and just build the relationship. Because if you haven't worked on a team game before or any kind of team project before getting into this kind of thing, emotions can run pretty high. So, definitely the time spent investing in building the culture and the friendship of the team, I'd say, has been the best investment.
Now, what is the one thing you are most excited about today?
So our first game is finally out. So now we are technically speaking published developers. And when that happened, it was kind of an interesting moment for me because it definitely felt like a whole world of game dev got opened up. You have this weird moment when you emerge from a major project that's been bearing you for a while. You kind of emerge from it and you say, well, that's done. I survived that. If I could survive that, I could probably survive, anything. And all of a sudden, even though, at least for me personally, coming out of ROTii and finishing it was very humbling. All the expectations I had really got turned around, and I really learned a lot of lessons about game dev. I also learned that it's something that me and my team can do. So it's very exciting because now we're at a point where we have that much more skill and knowledge to kind of shape our future and move closer towards the goal of being a lot bigger than we are right now.
Awesome. And don't forget, game devs, you can check out GameDevLoadout.com for all the show notes and links. You can also subscribe to my email list to get a top 10 tip for game development. And now we have reached crunch time where Brandon will be giving us a ton of valuable information at a fast pace. Brandon, are you ready to crush it and release the show?
I'm ready. I love crunch time.
Yes. That's why we're going to crush it. What was holding you back from becoming a game developer?
What was holding me back was knowing that you can just do it without a big budget.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Think small.
How has a failure set you up for later success?
I went to a game dev contest in Austin, and Warren Spector was there. He played an early build of ROTii, and he did not look impressed with it, which caused me to go back and rethink all the advice I had taken up to that point.
Oh, nice. And I think Warren Spector is the one that made the Mickey Mouse game, right?
Epic Mickey, yeah.
Awesome. And share an internet resource like Evernote or an online resource.
It's going to sound very cliche, but honestly, it's the one that worked the most for me. I'm going to say YouTube. That's where I learned Game Maker.
Now, this next question is a bit of doozy, so take your time if you have to. Imagine you woke up the next morning in a brand new world and you knew no one. You still have all the experience and knowledge you currently have today. Your food and shelter is taken care of, and you have a laptop. What would you do step by step on the path to become a great game developer?
The path to become a great game developer. I would immediately get the people I know, because I have my past experience, right?
Yes, but you don't know anyone.
But I don't know anyone. But are they, like, I've forgotten them? I know I'm probably overthinking this.
No, you just don't know. You're starting from scratch, but you still have all the experience and knowledge you have today. But you don't know anyone. You're basically starting from scratch.
Okay, then my path to success would be to take my experience and to make a bunch of rapid fire games, like super small games, like the kind of games people say you should make when they say think small. And then I would throw those games out on the market. Then with that resume out there, I guess not really a bunch of a resume. I mean, I should hope the games are good. Let's assume the games are passable at best, at worst. So with that experience, I would go to a conference like a GDC or something, and I would recruit for some crazy idea I have. I would recruit like two other people, one versatile artist and another programmer. We would make the game, and it would be the hit of the next year, the year after's Independent Game Festival. Then I would, with that success, after doing that a couple times, a couple of award-winning games, I would start building a bunch of prototypes with these new buddies of mine, and we would go to even bigger shows like E3s and whatnot. And hopefully our portfolio, our prototypes and whatnot would land us a nice little contract. Like maybe Nintendo comes up to us and says, hey, this is some pretty good stuff. Why don't you make the next F-Zero? Because we're never going to touch it. And at that point, I think that's getting into the good, like, goal set kind of territory. Rinse, repeat, get bigger and bigger until we have an E3 press conference, at which point my dreams are all crushed because the press conference will be embarrassing.
No, nothing. It could be great. You never know. And it's awesome because, yeah, make a lot of games, get that experience, and put it out into the market, take all that feedback, build that portfolio, and then, like you say, go to GDC, which is game conferences are great to network, so definitely go to those. Recruit more people because, people at GDC are already people that are motivated to make games. So, boom, that's people right there. You could go and recruit, build more games, and hopefully, go to E3, get noticed by a big publisher like Sony or Nintendo, and bam, make another game for the big publishers. That's awesome.
It's as easy as that.
Easy, but hard work. You gotta do that, put that work in. Awesome. Now, really appreciate it. Go ahead and give a parting piece of guidance to game devs and how we can connect with you.
Well, you can connect with me through DarkShot Studios. We're on all social media at DarkShot Studios, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even Snapchat and Tumblr. I think we still have that active. And also our website, darkshotstudios.com. And a parting piece of advice, that makes a little bit more sense. Parting piece of advice would be try the thing, but don't just try the thing. Try to finish the thing, because prototyping and not finishing it's good. You build experience, but if you're looking to get a job in game dev, if you're looking to recruit people, if you're looking to get noticed, for the most part, that only happens once you have shipped titles under your belt. So pick a thing and finish a thing. Even if it's a little painful, finish a thing, because that's what people from all aspects want to see.
Yes, finish that game. You gotta start first and then finish it. Don't lose that motivation. Listen to this podcast if you need to for that motivation and keep making games. Brandon, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with game devs, and for that, we are truly grateful. We look forward to your work, and until then, we will catch you next time.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, game devs, for listening, and remember that knowledge is only potential power. Execution is the game. Go check out my website at gamedeveloadout.com for all the show notes. If you want to listen to more inspiring stories, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Until then, keep on making games, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye.